operating on a frequency of 52 megacycles by authority of the Federal Communications Commission. A test program follows.
To you who've been trained technically, I need hardly say that there's still a number of problems to solve. I guess you know them as well as anybody knows them. But I think we've proceeded far enough to justify the statement, at least, that these technical problems are not insurmountable.
Have I put the right video in?
I hope so.
Sure. So my name or my ID name. So okay, I'm Twin Spade. I'm from Indonesia. So this is my first KOTE uh, participation, and this is my first match in top 32, I think. Yeah. So on the deck actually. Oh, sorry, maybe on Keyforce. So Keyforce is actually one of my most played game in 2021 and 2022. So I think since the COVID time. So because I cannot come physically, then you normally I played online using the festival with my friends. Um, I'm collecting quite a lot of number, and I love. I think the best set is mass mutation for me now because I have collect all the three gigantic. Okay, going back to the maths, I'm using my favorite XO Ascension deck. So it's SAS before is 70, and I think it's got updated to 72 now. Um, it have logos as the main house because it's quite speedy with time traveler. You can draw and a lot of archiving with XYZ researcher, and I have an MPT seed and regrowth to recursive a lot, so I can like using time traveler and it's die using help temper help from the future self. I can play it again, and then after it's dead, I can use it in MPT to play it again. So it's a lot of recursive to use the same card, and it my deck also cover to Mimicry, so it depends on the opponent card. It's my deck didn't have a lot of Ember control, but hopefully the enemy have, so I can use that for the Ember control or creature control. Yeah. Okay. On my opponent decks, based on my analysis, quite fast deck because it's a lot of Ember Burst and like Total Recall, and there is a high disruption on this house. There is Ember Aim, String Utus. I think it's very annoying if a lot of this card is appear in the first or second round of the match. It will very slow me down. I have a few counter, but if I didn't get it, then it will be very a big blow for me. And he have also doorstep to heaven, which is will control my ember. But I hope that he can use it early, so I can use it for mimicry. Yeah, so best of luck for both of us. Is that enough, Brett? Yes, I did some practice with the opponent's deck. I think from my practice, I think it's I'm giving advantage to my opponent's deck because I lost more than win. So maybe like 55-45 for my opponent's deck the condition. So it depends on the good hands, also the high roll and low roll. If they have a bad roll, then I have a better chance to win. But if you have a good hand at the beginning of the game, it will be snowballing hard for me based on my experience during the practice. Mhm. For the audience, just I think do your best and enjoy keyboard to the fullest.
All right. Hi, this is Karen from the Final Swindle, and I am joined by.
Woody, also from Final Swindle.
And today we have a great matchup for you. This is the 70 SAS cap event. You might notice some of the current SASs are boosted, but we just got 2 kind of subsequent SAS updates. Anyway, we have the teams Amber Minium versus the team 1AM. Woody's going to start you off with the happily boarding trader of Carford.
Sure. So this is an interesting little coda here. I'll go house by house first. So in the dis, seeing a pretty good amount of disruption, especially with Restoring Gun Dis, Ember Imp, Double Gongoozle, and obviously Control Weak. So that is just like it's a kind of balanced dis house with a gateway to boot and an arise to get it all back. So that's kind of a nice, coda dis. In the Mars, is really interesting because it's got a lot of these like cards that need the Mars creatures to be ready, like Psychic Network and Total Recall, and you get a little bit of help with the double Squawker to make some of that happen. Yeah, that's kind of all I'm seeing in the Mars, but it's also got Ammonia Clouds, which again is like a nice bit of removal, and it pairs well with the Cleansing Wave in the Sanctum. If you can get that going over a couple of turns. The Sanctum's also, got some great coda Sanctum plays going on with the Doorstep, which can totally get you out of a jam. Glorious Few, if you can pull it off, sort of. And this is a 12 creature deck, so that seems like a great deck to have a Glorious Few in. The rest of it's pretty solid, EP for coda, and you get a couple rating nights to help do a little bit of amber control, which is, one of the deck's maybe weaker points, so that helps out.
Yeah. And just in general, like with these codas, like something that ends up being really strong is just having that strong disruption plus very, very good amber.
Right.
Because it's like you slap down the 1 Ember Imp and a Restoring Guntus, and that makes your opponent skip 1 turn. That's enough if you're producing, I don't know, 10 Amber off of a Glorious Few the next turn or something,
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Just really, really cool deck. I love coda like that. So I'll move to the Beekeeper over here. And oh boy, I just want to own both of these decks, just heads up. I love this coda, I love this AOA, and I really can't wait to see how this goes down. We always try to not know going into these. So we have a Logos Sanctum Untamed deck, and first of all, the Logos is just amazing. There's so much recursion in this deck. So you've got double Director of ZYX, which will allow you to kind of pick up whatever is the last thing in your discards. Generally speaking, you'll want to go from discards in this deck instead of deck. Anyway, you've got a Help from Future Self, of course, paired with a Time Traveler and an Archimedes. The cool combo in this deck is that you have high recursion, and you have a Bouncing Death Quark. So what you're going to want to do is set up the Logos line around the Archimedes, and then you can kind of eat them back into your archives and replay. So you're going to get multiple Time Traveler plays. You're going to get multiple plays of other cards depending on what you're archiving with the ZYX. If your opponent has great actions, that's going to pair well with your Untamed, which I'll move to right now. You have a double Mimicry with the Nepenthe Seed. So you're going to be able to like pick up the seed. You're going to be playing Mimicry so many times. It's just really, really nice. Sanctum is actually, again, paired really great with this Logos. So we see the double smite, which I learned this trick from one of Woody's decks. But the double smite paired with the Archimedes means you're going to be able to fire your Logos stuff that is neighbors to the Archimedes, like into whatever they have into their line, get it into the archives. Of course, or you can use it to do some fighting and try to dominate line more traditionally. It just depends like what is needed in that moment. But the great thing about this deck, again, it's like a high recursion deck. You're gonna be able to get what you need in the moment. The big weak point here is that we have almost 0 amber control, and you're gonna depend on the mimicries. You're basically depending on your opponent to have good amber control cards. So I'll start looking into our matchup here, and looking at Carford. Do you have anything that you're afraid of me copying? Because I'm going to be copying.
Yeah, I was just looking at that myself. Well, the big Amber Control card you're gonna copy is the Doorstep,
Sure.
um, which I mean, it's just kind of a tit for tat. Like, if you get it at the right time, that's like the big way to utilize it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because the other ones are like Psychic Network, which ain't gonna help you really. Um, so there's not, and so that's really all you could copy as far as Amber Control. But there's plenty to copy just as far as like trying to copy some of the deck's disruption,
Yeah.
copying a control the weak, or if you need removal, in gateway or whatever. Um, there are good options, and it's a 20 action deck, so there's gonna be actions in the discard. You know what I mean? Like it's inevitable.
Right. Yeah, I really like hitting the Gonzogles.
Yeah.
I'm really, really fond of, I mean, Control the Weak, if you play it early, that could be potentially game ending because I could easily play Mimicry like 4 or 5 times in a game, depending on how many times I'm recurring it.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm really interested in the things to copy. I think that the Mimicry plays well, like you said, a double Mimicry deck with recursion against a deck with so many good actions.
true.
But ultimately, how do you think it shakes out?
You know, I think I think Beekeeper just has too many answers ultimately. Um, on paper it looks like Carford has better E, better C, better disruption. Um, I just feel like the speed, like that thing's gonna go so fast. Um, and I don't know. I think as again, I think on paper, like if you're looking at the numbers, it's like, oh, there's like no Amber Control, but like that's not true, right?
Yeah,
Um, I just see it. I see it going so fast. Like 16 speed that seems accurate. Maybe an undersell because again, you're probably going to be playing that time traveler many times.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. The recursion plus the high speed, like they're both kind of maxed.
yeah.
So yeah, if I had to take a guess, I would think that Beekeeper has more answers in the particular matchup, but I will say a 30 expected Amber deck. I know that we do have the Mimicries for some Amber control answers, but
Yeah.
I mean, Carford, if it just rushes, I don't think that Beekeeper has a kind of particular answer to just a couple high checks in a row, right? Like,
Yeah. Although I will say, it's funny because again, like Hartford's got it looks like a much better score for Amber generation.
yeah,
Beekeeper's got more printed Amber. You know,
right.
um, I think it kind of I think I think it probably doesn't take into account how much that Amber is going to get played, if that makes sense.
Sure. No, that makes sense. Yeah, with the multiple plays of the Time Traveler, for example. The last thing I'll say before we move on to the next matchup, just limited time, but is I think it's very dependent on kind of hand timing. Because if we're able to do basically, I think if Carford is able to do any significant amount of disruption via its creatures, if it gets down like an early Ember Imp and a
Yeah.
Restringuntus or something, there are answers in Beekeeper, but I think that that's basically game over, due to like what the Mars can do in terms of straight Amber generation. If the longer the game goes, I think it goes in Beekeeper's favor, basically.
Hmm. That's interesting. I feel like that's probably right. I feel like also the little bit of like power manipulation that's happening in the deck. It sounds like not much in this matchup,
Sure.
but I actually feel like you know imagining a Witch of the Wilds that's getting like beefed up by
Sure.
Henry's Wall or just like the
Gravekeeper.
Lion or the Grovekeeper. What is their answer for taking that off the board? Right, they don't have much effective power. They have a gateway, which I don't know. This chains I think maybe hurt too much in this
Yeah.
matchup. They're already going so slow compared to the Beekeeper.
Yeah, so the orbital bombardment is going to help you a lot with that. And the ammonia clouds. You're right. It's not perfect. It's definitely not the matchup Carford is looking for in terms of it really wants something with more creatures, so that it can cash in on the Glorious View and the Cleansing Wave. And it's not quite getting what it wants here.
Right.
I still like it though. The Arise, I think, gives it a nice advantage.
There's
But
definitely a way in which it snags it. I think that's totally true.
yeah,
It it,
I'm sorry.
it really depends. It's also like just how much the Mars is able to make an impact.
Hmm.
And it's one of those Mars houses that you kind of don't know it till you've seen it or you played it yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's like double psychic network. I don't know how screwed up that's gonna be. Basically.
I really do think like the burst potential there is going to be a lot, and it's like uncopyable actions too in the Mars. I think it's a massive edge.
Yeah, that's a problem. Although there are only 3 Mars creatures, which makes
Sure.
some of this less than ideal.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. It's one of those matchups we'll have to leave to watch here.
Okay.
Hello everyone. Right, here we go. So we have 1 AM at the top with Amberium on the bottom.
Yeah, starts with Hammersmith. That's a good, solid play. Got to start with an Amberium here, although Lady Maxine would be a stronger sell. But it does force Twin Spade into basically a very low efficiency turn. Shield Justice, then fight the Amberium and pass. This allows Santos to set up a fairly decent Sanctum moment. Lady Maxina stunned, but do you go for the repair or do you go for the fight? Because it's already stunned, so you can kind of get away with it.
I'll get rid of the fight because you want him off the board because it gives everything else armor. Is it just Samson creatures armor or everyone armor?
Everyone gets armor.
Yeah, I would do the fight, I think.
Archimedes is going to be a bit of an issue. Plays Dragoggle. I'd probably play the helpful feature yourself and then put that next to Archimedes because you got the recursion of the draw.
That is true.
But I guess the Dragoggle into Mimicry could be very powerful as well. And we see both players having nice stacked Sanctum hands, but Glorious Fuse is going to get 2. Take Hostages gets up to 5. Lady Maxina will get up to. Reaper Lady Maxina then plays the start check, get up to 6, and Bishop saying,
Come at me,
your
bro.
job is now to get me off check.
And with that hand,
Luckily,
this is possible, but
Baron does it straight away.
well, you have to discard a card, but yeah.
Yeah. Play Smite. Fight Smite into Raiding Knight. Very interesting. For you to heal. I would probably fought into the Lady Maxina and then healed the Lady Maxina for the full value and gone, okay, I'm on check and you're off check, but that's just me.
So we've got the double mimicry, but there's been a few cards going through, but nothing I can think that mimicry will be massively useful with.
It's a great choice here of Santos to keep Dust Imp on the flank because they know their only real bar removal here is they're everywhere, and keeping Dust Imp on the flank makes it a lot harder for Twin Spade to deal with it.
And Ultimo, we are all worried about what the impact of Larry of the Lake will have.
Use Mimicry for inspiration to fight Dragoggle, to archive it, to play the Pem Seed. And there we go, we see a discard of the They're Everywhere. That keeps Dust Imp on the board. It does allow Santos to forge, but it doesn't give him any more additional armor. And fights with Dust Imp. Plays a Rise, that gets back Ember Imp, Dust Imp, and the Shula in there, which means Life Web is actually going to go online to steal 2 next turn.
I don't know if I've ever actually seen LifeWeb do it. I mean,
I've seen Life Web is a very hard card to pull off, but it's something you do. It's Amber Control in Untamed. It's something you very rarely see. Most people completely forget about it as a card.
I know I do.
Yeah, so that's Life Web. I'd be half tempted to Nepepsi back the Life Web, but that's because I'm greedy.
Yeah.
Interesting choice to place Goalkeeper. Holds the Mimicry with 2 Mars creatures down. I would want them off the board, and there we go. See Psychic Network. Steals 2, keeps Twin Spade off. Check. Shield of Justice. Fights Baron, uses eventually to get my smite as well. So get him to 7. Plays smite again. Gets rid of Marauders, gets the Mars creatures off the board. But we do see a cleansing wave in hand for Santos. It is all coming up Millhouse here.
Santos thinking there.
Fought the Witch of the Wilds, but it's been down for 2 turns with the Grove Keeper, so it's going to be very hard to deal with here. Plays the cleanse wave, gets to 10. Goes Logos. Very interesting. This is really interesting because it means that you can play. Twin Spade can play everything here. Put Sanctum Guardian under the Goggle and then Mimicry to use the cleansing wave and answer the check with their own check at 7. If they reap for the time travel, that'll be 8. So this is a close game.
Ooh, and Dancing Bethquark comes through.
But the main issue is here. There is nothing. There is nothing here. There is literally nothing. All Santos has to do here is get 2, 6,
Check.
and they win. Now that Baron's gone,
Yeah.
they get to 7, and that's it. Baron was there. He's the only Amber control that was there.
And that's game.
2 cards get archived. If Baron had stuck around, there would have been a lot more capture going on. But unfortunately, with the Baron's demise, there's no Mimicry that can help him because we haven't seen Doorstep yet. Twin Spades can play it out. Play Bouncing Deathquark, that's going to wipe out the majority of the board, keep it under control. But unfortunately, gets up to 7. Basically says one more turn and it would have been quite interesting, especially seeing as we see in Santos' hand no answer to the check from Twin Spade.
No, that's true.
One turn separated this.
So yeah, Sergio there saying he had the first draw